Hello everyone, my name is Maher Haddad and I'm going to be the presenter of this webinar. So in this webinar, I'm going to discuss about how to configure the DHCP server and DHCP client as well on the Huawei routers. So I'm going to show you two different methods using the select interface and using the global mode. So in the select interface means that you configure the DHCP server when it is on the same network with the DHCP clients. And with the global mode, we are going to configure it when it is on outside network. So that means there is a router between the DHCP client and the DHCP server. So this middle router, we need to configure it to make the relay. And in this case, the DHCP client can reach to the DHCP server. So this is basically what I'm going to do in this webinar. I'm going to do two labs, and so that's practical labs. I'm going to show you how to configure that directly on the Huawei routers using the simulator, which is ENSP, which is the Huawei official simulator. So I'm going to show you step by step how to configure it. Then in case you want to do configuration yourself for your network, or in case you are studying for the HCIA, because DHCP is part of the HCIA certificate, then you can learn it from this webinar. This webinar, it goes for almost 1 hour, and by the end of the webinar, I'm going to ask questions, and students who answer correctly to the questions, they will be awarded by some prizes. So Huawei will provide some gifts from Amazon.com, and I will provide you access to my online courses. So I'm going to speak about what I do on online courses in this presentation. So I hope you will enjoy it, and let's start directly with the first slide. So we're going to speak about the DHCP as I said here. So I'm going to make the introduction and the configuration of the DHCP on Huawei routers. Idea about myself. So I'm a trainer, and I have almost 15 years of experience in the IT sector. I'm owner of mynetworktraining.com online school. So I have this website. You can visit it if you want. And I put a lot of online courses there, including Huawei courses. So you can visit my website, and if you like, you can purchase any of the courses that I have on my website. I have more than 18,000 students who are registered to my online courses. So it's a very big number of students, and I'm sure that everyone is enjoying the courses that I do. I have available Huawei courses on my website for HCIA levels, for the entry and intermediate levels. So actually, I have two different courses, as you know, and if you follow the Huawei official certificate, you have the entry level and you have the intermediate level. When you do both of them, then you will be able to do the exam of the HCIA, HNTD. So I have two courses that speak about those two topics, which are the entry level and the intermediate level, and I'm doing a lot of labs on those courses. So that means if you take the courses, you'll be very ready to do the exam of the Huawei HCIA. And if you want, you can, as I said, visit my website, and I have very cost-effective prices. So you can take one course by €9, so it's almost like 10 USD, and you have lifetime access to it. So it's very cost effective. It doesn't cost you a lot of money if you would like to buy the courses from my website. The other thing you can do is to make a membership registration. That means you pay €9 per month, and you have access to the whole collection of courses that I have on my website. At this moment, I have 24 courses from different brands, including Huawei. So when you pay €9, you have access to the whole collection of the courses that I have on my website. So please check my website, which is https://mynetworktraining.com. And if you like any of the courses, especially the Huawei one, because we're talking about Huawei, then I'll be very happy if you buy them, and I will be able to support you for your questions. So that's a brief idea about myself. Now, in this webinar, what we are going to do, we have first to understand the need of the DHCP and how it works. So I'm going to explain to you briefly how the DHCP works. and understand how to configure it on the Huawei router using the select interface and the global interface, so two different labs. And then at the end, we'll have to check if the DHCP is working. So after we finish the configuration of the DHCP server, we have to check if the DHCP clients are receiving IP addresses from the DHCP server. When I say IP addresses, of course, I'm saying IP, subnet mask, gateway, and DNS, and if we do some exclude of IP and lease time, that's also what I'm saying here. So this is the whole idea of what we are going to do in this webinar. Let's now start speaking about the DHCP. So the DHCP, when you configure a router on a DHCP to be DHCP server, and you have one client requesting for the DHCP server to lease him an IP address and the other information, then there are some communication happening. And this communication, we call it DORA, which is DHCP discover, DHCP offer, DHCP request, and acknowledge. So let me just show you this, what happened here. If we take, for example, this scenario, we have this router over here is doing the lease of IP. So he is the DHCP server. Okay, so you configure this router as a DHCP server, you finish the configuration. Then this router, let's take router 2, for example, is the DHCP client. That means it's the router which needs to get IP address. Then what happened here, that once you configure this interface to receive IP address dynamically from the DHCP server, then this router will send first what we call it the DHCP discover. Okay, DHCP discover. He sent it as a broadcast. That means he's just saying, hello, I'm DHCP client. Any DHCP server is there, can listen to me, and he sent it to broadcast. So he sent it as DHCP this broadcast. That means it will go to the switch. The switch will send the broadcast from all its port, from here and from here. So he's just saying, hello, I need an IP address. I need to connect to the network. Does anyone has an IP? Does anyone is an DHCP server in this network? Then the DHCP server receives this request. So this is DHCP discover. Then the DHCP server will answer, and he will say, yes, I am here at DHCP server, and I will give you an offer, DHCP offer. So DHCP discover from the DHCP client to the server answer with an offer. Okay, then he will give him an offer like I can give you this IP and so forth. Then the DHCP client will answer back. He say, okay, this is your offer, and I will request to get this offer. So it's called the DHCP request. I will request it. I want this, what you have given to me. Can you please acknowledge me that you can give it me the information you gave it to me, the IP, the gateway, the DNS, and so forth. Then in this case, this DHCP server will send back and he will say, okay, no problem. Then this is the acknowledge, DHCP acknowledge. So if you want to remember the 4 ways of communication between the DHCP client and the server, is called DORA, D-O-R-A. Okay, so DHCP discover, DHCP offer, DHCP request, and DHCP acknowledge. All right, so every time a router or a PC or whatever wants to get an IP address from the DHCP server, there is 4-way communication, and if you want, you can intercept that on Wireshark, and you will see the 4-way communication, which are the DORA. Okay, so this is what happened between the DHCP server and the client when the client wants to get the lease from the DHCP server. All right, so that's just a theory of what is happening on the background with the DHCP client and the DHCP server. Now we have to dig more and start doing the configuration. Let's go back to the slide. So again, the DHCP, which is Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol, provide IP address dynamically with subnet mask, with gateway, with DNS, and other information. It has 4 messages. We call it DORA. DHCP discover is always a broadcast. Remember that. Always is sent by a broadcast, because he doesn't know where is the DHCP server, the DHCP client. So he's just like, just saying, hello, if there any DHCP server in this network, please give me an IP address. So this is always a broadcast. Then the server answered by an offer. So again, DHCP discover, offer, request, and acknowledge. Now, to configure this on the Huawei routers, we have two different ways. The first way is called with using the select interface. So when do we use the select interface? If we go here, like in this scenario, we can use the select interface. Why we can use it? Because the DHCP server, which is this one, and the DHCP clients, which are those ones, are on the same network. Again, they are on the same network. So there is only switch between them. So it's one broadcast domain. All this is one broadcast domain. So once you have this scenario, then in this case, you can configure the select interface, okay, between the DHCP server and the DHCP client, okay? If you have such a scenario, the second one, where the DHCP server is not sitting on the same network with the DHCP client. So you can see this is a server here, and this is the client here, and in between there is a router. That means this is a broadcast domain, and this is another broadcast domain. So two different networks. In this case, you have to configure the global method, and you have to make this middle router a relay. And also I'm going to show you that in this webinar how to do that. So just an idea, when you want to use the DHCP server, you want to put on the same network with the DHCP client, you use the select interface. When you want to use the DHCP server, which is outside the network of the DHCP client, then you use the global method, and the middle router, you make it as relay. Okay, and I'm going to show you the this on the lab when we just do the lab. Okay, let me just clear this because we need those graphs to make them, to use them. Okay, now we'll go back to the slide. So again, we have two different ways. The first way is in case the DHCP server is inside the network where the DHCP clients, then you use the select interface. And in case the DHCP server, should be here server, is outside the network where the DHCP clients are, then we use the global method, but also we have to use the relay. Okay, now let's take a breath now and let's start the first lab. Before I start the first lab, in this lab, I'm gonna do the select interface. That means the DHCP server is gonna be on the same network with the DHCP client. So before I do that, I just want to show you the lab scenario. If we go here, so this is our lab scenario. Let me just take out this one. Yeah. Okay, very good. So this is our lab scenario. We are having here 3 routers connected to a switch. Okay, so they are all on the same network. The DHCP server is going to be router 1. So I'm going to configure router 1 to be DHCP server. So which mode are I going to use? Yes, we are going to use the select interface because the DHCP server and the client are on the same network. The router 2 and router 3, once I finish the configuration of the DHCP server and we do it correctly, the router 2 on its interface, gigabit 0/0, and this one on its interface, they should receive IP address from the DHCP server. Okay, so this is what we are going to do for the first lab. We are going to configure the DHCP server on router 1, router 2, router 3 to be the DHCP client, and then we will see if they will get IP address from the DHCP server. So I have here ENSP already, so I can show what I have here. So it's the same scenario. Router 1, there is a switch between, and router 2 and router 3. All the interfaces are gigabit 0/0/0 for the 3 routers. All right, so the ENSP is already running. Let's go and start the configuration. And here I would like to put for you the picture so you can follow what I am doing. So point number 1, enable DHCP process on router 1. So we have to configure router 1 as DHCP server. DHCP server means we need the DHCP process to be enabled. By default, remember that, by default, on Huawei routers, the DHCP process is disabled. That means you cannot configure DHCP directly on the router. You have to enable the DHCP process. Okay, so let's enable it on router 1. First, before I do that, let's just change the name, and we give for this router the name router 1. That's fine. And now we have to enable the DHCP process. We say DHCP enable, enter. And you can see the operation may take a few seconds. Please wait a moment. Done. So that means the DHCP process is now configured and it's enabled. So this is the first point that we need to do. And we go to point number 2. After we enable the DHCP process on the server, we have to put an IP address on the interface gigabit 0/0/0 of 192.168.0.1. Okay, let's do that. We go to router 1 again, and we go to the interface gigabit 0/0/0, and we put an IP address of 192.168.0.1 subnet mask 24. So why we need to put an IP? Because this IP is going to be the gateway for the other DHCP clients, okay? And also to be able to communicate with the DHCP clients. So you always need to put an IP on the internal interface which is connected to the lab. All right, now the IP is set. If you want, you can justify that. We can say display IP interface brief. And we can see that gigabit 0/0/0, it has 192.168.0.1, and it is up and up. Okay, so the second point is also done. Point number 3, let the DHCP server works on the gigabit 0/0/0 of router 1. That means here we have to say that on this interface, we are going to use the select interface. Select interface means that it's a DHCP server that is configured in a network where the DHCP clients are on the same network. Okay, we go to router 1, and here we have to say DHCP. You can make here question mark, and you can see there is select. So we say select question mark. You have 3 options: global, interface, or relay. In this case, I'm going to use the interface. All right. So now we are saying that this server, the DHCP server, is going to be in a network where the DHCP clients are. Point number 3 is also done. Point number 4, now we need to configure the pool to provide DNS, release time, and exclude 192.168.0.254. So once the DHCP client are talking to the DHCP server, then the DHCP server has to give an IP, has to give DNS that we have to say it, the lease time, how long it will keep the DHCP client the lease with them, and if we want to do some exclusion for IPs. Now, someone can say, but what IP would this DHCP server will provide? Because we didn't say here to give in a pool of IPs. Actually, the IP that the DHCP server will provide, or the IPs, is going to be from this range of 192.168.0. something. Okay, because select interface, it will look what is the IP on this interface, and it will take from the same range and will give it for those interface. So this one can get, for example, 192.168.0.253. This one will get .252. Okay, so you don't need to specify what is the IP range, because it will look to the IP which is on the interface, and it will provide the IPs with the same range. So let's do that. Again, the question here is to configure the pool, DNS, lease, and exclude. Okay, so from here we have to say DHCP, and then we can say question mark, and then we say server. Okay, then question mark, and here you have the list of information. So they said we have to put the DNS. Let me just clear and so you can see everything from top. So DHCP server, question mark, and then we say I want the DNS to be provided to the users, the DHCP client, to be A.A.A.A. And I want the lease. So for how many days the IP will stay. So lease, you can say question mark. Actually, you have to say here DHCP server lease, question mark, and you say day, how many days? I would say 3 days. You can also play with the hours, with the minutes, but I will leave it 3 days. And I want to exclude IP address. So I don't want that the IP 192.168.0.254 to be provided. I want to exclude it. Maybe I put it on a server. Okay, so here I will say exclude. We have to say again DHCP server exclude IP address 192.168.0.254. Enter. So now if I say display this, we see what we have configured. So this interface has this IP. It's select interface. It exclude the IP to be distributed. The lease is for 3 days and the DNS. And that's it. So point number 4 is done. Point number 5, configure route 2 and router 3 interface gigabit 0/0/0 to receive IP address. Did it work? Let's go to router 2 first. So I will give a name for it, sysname router 2. To enable the DHCP client on router 2, you have to go to the interface, and here you have to say IP address DHCP allocate. So allocate IP from the DHCP server. Okay, once you say enter, look what it says. Please enable the DHCP in the global view first. Remember, the DHCP process is disabled on Huawei routers by default. So we need to enable it because we are working on DHCP. So we go back to the system view level here, and from here I will say DHCP enable. So now I enabled the DHCP process. Now, if I go to again to the interface gigabit 0/0/0, and here I have to say IP address DHCP alloc, enter. And let's have a look. And here we go. Directly you can see it is up and up. So now if I say display IP interface brief, it has received an IP 192.168.0.253, not 254. Remember, 254, we said it's excluded, and normally Huawei provide from the leased IP and to go up. So it has given .253 and up. That means on router 2, if I want to ping 192.168.0.1, which is the IP of router 1 gigabit 0/0/0, it is giving me a reply. Okay. Let's do the same for router 3. Let's change the name, sysname router 3, and then we go to the, first we need to enable the DHCP here process. We go to the interface gigabit 0/0/0 and IP address DHCP alloc, and we wait a few seconds. We should get an IP. And here we go. We have received the IP. Actually, there is a nice command you can use also. It is called display DHCP client. So when you say display DHCP client, you can see it has received an IP, which is 0.252. This is the subnet mask. The gateway, you see, it directly gives the gateway 0.1, which is the IP of router 1. Say which is the DHCP server, and look to the DNS. That's the one that I have put, and here it's saying it's bound to the DHCP server. So that means that the configuration of the DHCP server using the select interface is working. You can see it's very easy. It doesn't take too much of work to be able to do it. So let's see what we have to do now. So we have configured router 2 and router 3. It's working, and we fixed the problem. We needed to make the DHCP enable the process. Ping, we have pinged also. It's working. Now let's make one more step, is to put the PC and see if also the PC will get an IP address. So I bring here the ENSP. So that is ENSP. I'm taking now a PC. I put it here. I connect a cable from the PC to the hub, or this is, you can consider it a switch. There is no more hub now. And I go to the PC here. You have to go inside of it. You can put a name for it, but here is very important. You have to say that to obtain IP address using the DHCP. So you select DHCP. Apply. And now let's start it. Let's go to it. On the command prompt here, I say ipconfig. This is the Windows one. And you can see directly it has received the IP. 192.168.0.251. That is the gateway, the subnet mask, and the DNS. Okay. So far so good. The configuration of the select interface is working for us without any problem. So point number, I don't know what is the point now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 is done. And it has received an IP. If it didn't receive an IP directly, what you can do on the PC, you can just say ipconfig/renew, okay? So I will do something here. I will say /release to release the IP. So you can see there is any IP now, 00, no subnet, no gateway. And then I will say ipconfig space/renew, and we wait a few seconds. So here there is the DORA happening, the four way of communication, and it has received the IP. You can see. And if you want, we can ping 192.168.0.1, the gateway working, but also we can ping .253, which is router 2, and it's also, because they are on the same network, they can see each other. So with this point, I have just finished the first lab, and this is how you can configure the DHCP using the select interface. It's not hard, it's easy, but just you need to put the right steps. Let's now jump to the second lab, and using the global mode and the relay. So here, just to remind you, you have the DHCP server, which is not on the same network with the DHCP client. So there is a router between them. So how to do the configuration for that? First, I need to close the ENSP and open it again with the new lab. So this is finished, and here I have the DHCP relay. So this is our network on DHCP relay. We have router 1, router 2, and router 3, and switch between. I will start the lab. Then we can go to the points and start doing them. Let's wait a little bit for the operating system to be loaded from on the Huawei routers. And in this time, while it's loading, so I will go back here and I will explain what I'm gonna do. So what we are going to do now is, you can see the DHCP server is not sitting on the same network with the DHCP client. So this is the client and this is the server. There is a router in between. That means once this client comes online and want to ask for an IP, he will send the DHCP discover and he will send it as a broadcast. So this will go from here to reach to router 2. Router 2 is a router, and we know from the networking basic that the router will eliminate the broadcast, will not allow the broadcast to go. Okay, so router 2 is a router, is a layer 3 device, and layer 3 device doesn't allow the broadcast to keep going. So what will happen, you say, oh, I see a broadcast, and then poop, I will drop it. I will not allow it to go to here. Okay, actually it's not, he will not really drop it, but he will not allow it to go to the other network. So in this case, then this client here, the DHCP client, is not able to reach to the DHCP server to be able to have the DORA, discover, offer, request, and acknowledge. And he will never get an IP address over here. So we need to configure this router here to be what we call it relay, DHCP relay. That means you will relay the broadcast and let it go to the server, and then to be able to make the communication with the DHCP client. And this is the main idea of this lab. And we are going to use another way, which we call it the global method. Okay, let's see now if the operating system is loaded on the router. So router 1 is ready, router 2 is ready, router 3 is ready. Very good. I will maximize them so it's more clear for you. 3. Very good. And I'll move this a little bit like this, and then I'll put the picture, which is very handy so you can follow what I'm doing. There is the picture. Excellent. Very well. Now, let's see what we have to do. We go to the points. Now, put IP addresses as shown in the graph. Full stop. So we can see, actually, I think you see the IP addresses on the graph. So we just have to put IP addresses on the interfaces. Okay, let's do that. On router 1, I just changed the name. I will go to the interface gigabit 0/0/0. And the IP address is 192.168.12.1. So this is router 1 is done. Router 2, give it a name. Then on the interface gigabit 0/0/0, there is an IP 192.168.12.2. Please look to the graph. You can see. And I'll go to the interface gigabit 0/0/1. And I put an IP 172.16.0.1 and 24. And router 3, we don't put an IP because it needs to get an IP from the DHCP server. Okay, it's a DHCP client. What we can do now, we can ping to 192.168.12.1, which is the IP of router 1 from router 2. And we can see that there is a ping. So everything is okay. The IPs are set on both router 1 and router 2. Port number 1 is done. Port number 2, we have to start configuring now the DHCP server on router 1. First, remember, DHCP process is disabled by default. We have to enable it. So enable DHCP service on router 1. We go to router 1. We go to the system view mode, and then here I have to say DHCP enable. This is done. Point number 2 is done. Point number 3, now we have to configure a pool to have a network providing from 172.16.0.0/24 gateway, DNS, this time, and exclude IP address. So if I go back to the picture here, what I'm going to do now, what I'm going to do on the server is to create a pool. Okay, a pool. And inside this pool, I will say, this DHCP server will lease IPs, but the IPs that he will lease is going to be from the range of 172.16.0.0. Why? /24. Because this DHCP client needs to get an IP which should be from the same range as the connected router to him, which is this one, because router 2 is going to be, in this case, the gateway. If he has received an IP from 192.168.12, then he cannot communicate the router 3 with router 2. It needs to be received from the same range. You can see this is 172.16.0. This one is 172.16.0. So the pool that I need to create it needs to be with the same IP range of the connected interface from router 3 to router 2. Okay, so let's do that. We go to router 1. To create the pool, we have to say IP pool, and we give it a name or number. Let's give it a name DHCP, for example. Okay, if you make question mark, you can see how much you have as here options to use. So the most important ones are the network. You say that I want to provide IPs from the network which is 172.16.0.0, which has a mask of 255.255.255.0. Okay, that's one. So any DHCP client requesting for IP we get from this range. 2, the gateway. So we can say here, gateway list is going to be, remember, should be 172.16.0.1. If you look here to the picture, the gateway of the router 3 should be this one, this interface, because it has to go from here. Okay, all the packets needs to go from here as a gateway. So this interface is 172.16.0.1. All right. The DNS, we can give it, for example, 8.8.8.8. The lease, they said for us the lease to be 3 days, 12 hours. Okay. Day, we say 3 days, and hours, 12. And they said also to exclude the IP address 172.16.0.254. That means this IP is not going to be provided by the DHCP server. And enter. So now if I say display this, so this is what we have. The pool, it has gateway. This gateway, it will provide IPs from here, 172.16.0.0, exclude IP address, the lease, and the DNS. So all in all, is good. Point number 3 is done. Point number 4, we need to make the interface gigabit 0/0/0 as DHCP global. Remember, the DHCP server is in an outside network, then you have to make it to be global and not the select interface that we made it in the last lab. So we go to the router. We have to go to, let me clear here and put the picture again. So we have to go to the interface gigabit 0/0/0, and from here I have to say DHCP ? Select ? And in this case we have to say global. All right, DHCP select global. That's what you need to do on the DHCP server. Point number 4 is done. Now we have finished the configuration of the DHCP server, but the DHCP client till now he will not receive an IP address from him. Why? Because again, if we go to the picture, what is going to happen now is that the configuration of the DHCP server here on router 1 is completely finished. So anyone who communicates with the DHCP server requesting IP, DNS, gateway, and the subnet mask, so he will receive. But router 3 is not yet able to communicate with him because he will send the broadcast to router 2, and router 2 say, oops, stop, you cannot go, you are doing a broadcast. So how can router 3 reach to router 1? He will not be able to do that. Okay, so we need to do something on router 2, and that's what I'm going to show you now. All right, let's go to router 2 now and enable the DHCP process. DHCP enabled. So we enable the DHCP process on router 2. Point number 5 is done. Point number 6, configure the interface gigabit 0/0/1 of router 2 to be as relay and point to the DHCP server IP address. So if you go back to the picture, what I'm going to do now is that on router 2, I will say, this interface, remember the internal interface, this one, the one which is connected to the DHCP client. You say on this interface, it is a relay, and then you point to the DHCP server. You say that any DHCP request or discover coming to me, I would send it to the DHCP server. So you point it to the DHCP server. But just remember that you do this on the interface, which is the inside interface. In this case, gigabit 0/0/1. So we go to router 2. We go to the interface gigabit 0/0/1. And here I have to say DHCP select, and this time we are going to use relay. We used already global and interface, and now we have to say relay. And then we say DHCP relay ? And then we use the server IP. That means I'm pointing to the DHCP server, which is 192.168.12.1. Okay, remember, if we look to the picture, the server has an IP of 192.168.12.1. All right, and then I will say enter over here, and we have already checked before that we can reach to this IP from router 2. So all in all is fine. So that's what you need to do on router 2 to make it as a relay. Point number 6 is done. Point number 7, enable the DHCP servers on router 3. So now we finished DHCP server, router 1. We finished the relay on router 2. We need to make now the DHCP client on router 3. Let's go to router 3. So this is router 3. And let's change the name. We enabled, because we are going to make a DHCP client, so we have to enable the DHCP process on it. So this is done. Point number 7 is done. And now the last point, check if router 3 can get an IP address on gigabit 0/0/0. If not, solve the problem. Let's have a look. So everything is done. Router 1 finished, router 2 finished. Now router 3 should get an IP address. Let's try. We go to the interface gigabit 0/0/0, and I will say IP address. And remember, we have to say here DHCP alloc and enter. And let's wait. If everything is working fine, then we should get an IP address. So by now, if the router 3 was able to communicate with router 1, then in this case, by now should have an IP. But you can see it didn't receive anything. We can say display IP interface brief. And we can see that gigabit 0/0/0 has an unassigned IP address. So there is a problem, and we need to find the solution for the problem. But let's check what is the problem. Let's go back here to the picture, and let me explain to you what is the problem. I'll clear here a little bit so we can have a good picture now. The problem is that router 1 is configured correctly, router 2 is configured correctly, this is the server, this is the relay, and this is the client is also configured correctly. So what is happening is that router 3 is sending the DHCP discover to here. Router 2 is the relay. You say, oh, okay, I'm going to send it to the router 1. And then router 1, you say, I want to send it back. And I want to send it to the network, which is 172.16.0. Okay, that's from router 1. The router 1 opened his routing table, and he would check 172.16.0, 172. Oh, I don't have it. I don't have any information how I can send the answer back to this network 172.16.0. So in this case, say, oh, okay, then in this case, I will drop it. I will not let it go. So what you need to do is on your routing table, you have to say to router 1 to send to 172.16.0 to this network. You have to send everything to your next hop, which is 192.168.12.2, which is the IP on gigabit 0/0/0 of router 2. Because router 1, he doesn't know anything about that network. And if you want, we can go to router 1. And from here, if we say display IP routing table, look here. He knows nothing about one. There is no 172.16 on router 1. You can see those are the route entries on the routing table, and he doesn't know how to reach to that. So what you need to do now is to fix the problem is the last step. From router 1, you have to say IP route static. And you say to go to 172. Let me put the picture. To go to 172.16.0.0 network, which has a subnet mask 255.255.255.0. So to reach to that network, you have to send, he's saying to himself, all your traffic to 192.168.12.2, which is the next hop for router 1, which is the interface of gigabit 0/0/0 of router 2. And then I will say enter. So now he knows how to reach to router 3. If you go now to router 3, and directly once we have done that, you can see it is here, the interface is up. So if I say now, display IP interface brief, here we go. We can see he has received an IP of 172.16.0.253. All right. And the pool we created is on router 1. And if you want, we can say here, display DHCP client, enter. And that's a very good here overview what we can see. So it has received from the DHCP. It's bounded with the DHCP. And this is the IP it received. This is the subnet mask. This is the gateway. Look here, the DHCP server is 192.168.12.1, which is on another network, which is router 1. And it is here the DNS. And from router 3, if I ping to 172.16.0.1, we have a reply, but also he's able to reach the DHCP server because he got an IP from him. So if we go to 192.168.12.1, and here we go. So router 3 is able to reach him. And he has received an IP, and that's how you can configure it, okay? So the last point is done. And if you want one more step, we can put a PC like the last lab. So I will go to ENSP. I will drag a PC here. I will connect it to this hub. And then we go inside of it. PC, DHCP, and apply, and then I will start it. Let's have a look. On the command, ipconfig. He has no IP, so I will say ipconfig/renew. And you should get from 172.16.0. something. And here we go. 172.16.0.252. That is the gateway, that is the DNS. And we make ping to 172.16.0.1. And all is good. So this is the second lab that I showed you in this webinar. As you can see, it's a lot of fun. And this is how you can master how to configure the DHCP on Huawei routers. Now, I still have some more slides. We are almost by end of the webinar. Here, I advise you to visit the Huawei Enterprise community. And you can see there are 144,000 members, including engineers, experts, customers, partners, and students. There are many posts you can learn from them. And if you have any technical question, you can post it on the forum, and you will be answered within 24 hours, whether by expert, but also could be from other engineers or students who are learning Huawei. And there are also some public recognition and rewards for most active users, and you can get some gifts. And this is here listed, something nice like a mobile phone, smartwatch, earplugs, and so forth. So please, I advise you to go there. I have an account also there. I will try to be more active. My account is called my_network_training, my network training. So I will be more active, and if you have questions, you can put your question there, and I will try, and some other also will try to answer the questions.
Hello.
What happened here? Yeah.
Hello, Maher. I would like our users to see the post in the forum about the webinar where they can answer the questions. So after you share the questions, we will share the forum post, okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, now for the questions, I have 3 questions for you, and it's about this webinar that I have just explained it. And please, the questions, you need to answer them inside the forum. So please go to forum.huawei.com, and if you don't have an account registered, and you have to answer to those questions, and the fastest one with the right answer will get some prizes. From me, I'll provide you access to the entry level of my course on my website, but also from Huawei part, they will give some Amazon gifts for you for $50 US. So the first question that I have here, one is, by default, the DHCP process is enabled on Huawei routers. Is that correct? So please, you have to say yes or no. Okay, you have to go to the forum. You have to have an account. In case you have an account, you can directly answer there. If you don't, you have to create an account and put your answer there. Question number 2. If you use a pool of /24 and the router is using one IP, and you exclude one IP, so there is one on the router and you exclude one, Then how many IP can the DHCP router lease to the client? So how many IP the DHCP router leased for DHCP client? 254, 253, 252, or 251? And the last question, and it's a tricky one. Question number 3, can you use the DHCP global method in case the DHCP client are on the same network with the DHCP server? So global method and DHCP client are on the same network with the DHCP server. Is that possible? And also here you have to answer yes or not. So these are the 3 questions that I have for you. I will give for you 1 minute if you want to write them to be able to answer them. I will leave this slide now available for you. For 1 minute, please take a note, and I hope that you can answer correctly to the forum and to win the prizes, okay? So that's it. So this is the whole webinar. So again, in this webinar, I have explained for you about the DHCP server, how to configure it on Huawei routers. I showed you how to use the select interface. I showed you how to select the global with the relay method. And I have showed you in practical labs how to configure it correctly on the Huawei routers. And at the end of the lab, we have checked if it's working, and we've seen that everything is working fine without any questions, without any problem. So at the end, I have put 3 questions, and those 3 questions, you can see them here. If you answer correctly to those questions, you will win the gifts from Huawei, and from myself. I will provide you also access to one of my Huawei courses. And I hope you enjoyed this webinar. If you have any question, please put that on the forum, and myself or some other experts, but also some other students or engineers in the community can answer your questions. And thank you very much for your time, and I hope to see you again in some other webinars.
Thank you very much, Maher, for your presentation. I hope you can hear me, right?
Yeah.
Okay, now I would like to share the forum post where they can see where they have to answer the questions you asked in the webinar, okay?
Okay.
So guys, this is the forum, forum.huawei.com.enterprise. This is the English Huawei Enterprise Forum, where you can go and answer Maher's questions, okay, based on the webinar. You can access this, click. In case you don't have an account, please register an account. If you already have an account, please log in before you reply to the questions. And leave your questions under this post, okay? If you want to win an Amazon gift card, this is where you have to reply. Okay, so you already know the questions. You can also find them here. So feel free to answer them, and good luck to everyone. I hope you enjoyed this webinar. Thank you, Maher, again for your participation. We were extremely glad to have you. And if you have any questions for Maher, and if you have any questions related to the topic, please leave them under this post. And Maher and other experts will help you reply. Okay, this was it, guys. Thank you again. This is the post, so good luck to everyone, and hope to hear you soon again.